Yo, I just got some information myself, man, because it was strange to me that every month he's going up for a bail hearing. And I know that seems strange to a lot.
Yeah, but so there's still, I mean, it's crazy too because there's still more happening in court. Like, I mean, everything is still active, even though we're not hearing about it as much anymore. And the people may be fatigued, like we talked about prior to.
It's no secret that Sean Diddy Combs, once hailed as one of the most influential figures in music and entertainment, is now at the center of one of the most jaw-dropping scandals in celebrity history. With accusations piling up and a federal indictment threatening to dismantle his empire, it seems like the walls are closing in around the rap mogul. But according to his former bodyguard Gene Deal, Diddy might be stepping out of his jail cell sooner than expected. Deal's recent explosive interview has not only reignited public interest in Diddy's case, but has also raised questions about how the man once known as the king of bad boy records is maneuvering his way through the justice system.
Got a lot of money and they got lawyers that can come up with different reasons and different information and present it to the courts that they are able to get how many bail hearings, as long as you got different information to present to the court, different evidence.
Deal, who worked closely with Diddy at the height of his career, didn't hold back when discussing his former boss's current predicament. I just got some information myself, man, because it was strange to me that every month he's going up for a bail hearing, Deal said, shaking his head at the absurdity of it all.
So you got to realize he got a lot of money. He still got a lot of money because he's paying these high profile lawyers to take this case. So in having them to take this case, they're able to construct a lot of information together to making sure that when they go to the courts, they can say, yo, Your Honor, listen here. This is something that's changed. This is something that's new. This is something that's different.
And this is the crux of Diddy's strategy, money talks. Despite being locked up, Diddy's wealth and influence are still very much in play. His legal team, which reportedly costs him an astronomical amount every month, has been hard at work crafting one argument after another in an attempt to convince the court that their client deserves to be released. According to Deal, this kind of relentless legal maneuvering is only possible for someone with Diddy's financial resources. So, what exactly is Diddy's team arguing this time around? Well, one of their main points seems to revolve around his treatment while in custody. Deal mentioned that during an impromptu search of Diddy's jail cell, officials allegedly confiscated some of his legal documents. A move his lawyers claim violates his rights. They're saying he can't properly prepare his case if they're constantly going in his cell, taking his legal briefs, taking his information, Deal said. And if that weren't enough, the defense is also claiming that these searches are being conducted unfairly, possibly to intimidate their client.
It looked like he might get bail. Now you're wondering why I'm saying that. See, they are trying to use some of the things that happen to criminals all the time or inmates all the time. They always, brother, they always do those impromptu searches.
But the prosecution isn't backing down. They've painted a very different picture, one where Diddy is allegedly exploiting his wealth and status to manipulate the system and even interfere with witnesses. According to prosecutors, Diddy has been using other inmates' phone cards to make unauthorized calls, a blatant violation of prison rules. Deal, however, couldn't help but mock Diddy for his recklessness. He gotta be probably the smartest, dumbest person that I know because he gotta know that those phone calls are being taped, he said with a chuckle. The prosecution is reportedly using these violations as evidence that Diddy cannot be trusted to follow the rules if he's released on bail, arguing that his actions behind bars suggest he's a flight risk or, worse, might continue to tamper with witnesses.
In this particular case, they said that when they did the impromptu search, well, they took some of his legal information and the judge ordered them to give that back. So I guess the lawyers are going to come up with a couple of new things saying that he can't properly, have his case.
And then there's the matter of Diddy's so-called to-do list, which was allegedly found during one of the cell searches. According to reports, the notes included instructions for a family member to dig up damaging information on two of his accusers, a discovery that has only added to the allegations of witness intimidation. While Diddy's legal team has fiercely denied that the notes were intended to obstruct justice, the prosecution has jumped on this as further proof of his attempts to manipulate the case from behind bars.
I believe none of that to be true. I believe that they went in there just like they do all the other inmates based on the information they had. You got to realize this, bro. They found out that Diddy was using other inmates' phone cards. Now that probably happens all the time. You understand?
The stakes couldn't be higher. If convicted, Diddy faces a potential life sentence, and his legal team is pulling out all the stops to secure his release. One of their most recent proposals involves placing Diddy under house arrest in a luxury Manhattan apartment, complete with 24/7 monitoring by private security. According to his lawyers, this arrangement would be more restrictive than his current situation in jail, as it would limit his phone access, restrict visitors to only family and legal counsel, and even include regular check-ins with federal agents. He couldn't go nowhere, Deal said, seemingly acknowledging the logic behind the defense's proposal. I don't think it's a pilot out here that would fly him unless he's paid under the table, and he's one of those Colombian cartel guys.
Be a whole forestry of next week, because what they did was they held off whatever the procedures was going to go down today. The judge said he going to revisit this next week. So I guess, I don't know if it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We'll find out what's going on, but it's going to be something that I think it may shock the world.
But not everyone is convinced. During a recent court hearing, the judge expressed skepticism about whether such conditions would be enough to ensure Diddy's compliance. Prosecutors, too, were quick to point out the flaws in the defense's argument. At bottom, in order for conditions to be sufficient, there has to be some level of trust that the defendant will follow them. Prosecutor Christy Slavic said during the hearing, simply put, the defendant cannot be trusted.
Wow, so he might get out.
I think that he shouldn't be out if a third of the information that they got, is right.
Even Diddy's own behavior in jail has come under scrutiny. Reports have surfaced alleging that he has repeatedly violated prison rules, including engaging in unauthorized messaging and making three-way calls using other inmates' identification numbers. Deal acknowledged these reports but suggested they were being blown out of proportion.
He shouldn't be out. But see, this is what people don't understand about the federal government. This is what the people don't understand about the Southern District of New York. When they come and get you, when they decide to lock you up, they already won their case.
Still, the question remains, will Diddy finally be granted bail? According to Deal, the answer could come as early as next week, when the judge is expected to make a decision. But even if Diddy is released, his legal battles are far from over. The allegations against him are some of the most serious to ever hit a celebrity of his stature, and the prosecution has made it clear that they intend to pursue the case with full force. Deal, for his part, seemed to believe that Diddy's chances of walking free are slim. If a third of the information they got is right, he shouldn't be out, he said bluntly. And he's not alone in that sentiment. Many legal experts have pointed out that the Southern District of New York, which is handling Diddy's case, has an incredibly high conviction rate. When they come and get you, they already won their case, Deal said, echoing a sentiment shared by many who have faced federal charges. If you think anything different, you're wrong.
Diddy is a multi-millionaire. He's a multi-millionaire. If he wins this case against them, look at all the business that he lost. Look what they made him look like in the public eye. He could bankrupt. he could bankrupt the government.
But what about the broader implications of Diddy's case? For years, rumors have swirled about the darker side of his empire, with allegations of exploitation and abuse quietly bubbling beneath the surface. Now, those rumors are front and center, and the fallout is threatening to engulf not just Diddy, but everyone associated with him. From his former collaborators to the A-list celebrities who attended his infamous parties, the ripple effects of this scandal are being felt across the entertainment industry.
You know they already won their case. He's gonna have to plead guilty to something. Maybe the guns. It may be the trafficking. It may be some stuff they found in the tax evasion. It may be charges that we don't even know about. But he's gonna have to plead guilty to something which get them off the hook.
As the legal drama unfolds, one thing is clear. The fight for Diddy's freedom is far from over. His legal team is determined to secure his release, but the prosecution is equally determined to keep him behind bars. And with new allegations and evidence surfacing almost daily, the story is only getting more complicated. Will Diddy manage to outmaneuver the system once again, or has his luck finally run out? Only time will tell. But for now, all eyes are on the courtroom, where the fate of one of music's most controversial figures hangs in the balance. Well, if you thought the first part of this saga was wild, buckle up because things are about to get even more intense. Let's dive deeper into what's been brewing behind the scenes of Sean Diddy Combs' legal nightmare. While Diddy's lawyers are busy fighting for his release, rumors and whispers about what's really going on in his world have taken on a life of their own. The spotlight has shifted not just to Diddy himself, but to the powerful and influential figures who are part of his inner circle. And let's be real here. With allegations this explosive, there's bound to be collateral damage, and some of the biggest names in Hollywood and the music industry are starting to sweat.
It sounds like there was probably a lot of hidden cameras as well. Is that what is being talked about?
Yes, this was actually in his Atlanta home, at a home he had in Atlanta at one point. And it does seem that the person isn't like looking into the video, so to me, doesn't seem like that person knows they're being videotaped. It doesn't seem like they're active participant in the videotape.
Let's talk about the conspiracy theories swirling around this case because they're just too juicy to ignore. There's been chatter, especially online, that Diddy might actually be in more danger than most people realize, danger from his own people. Think about it. Diddy knows a lot. We're talking decades of secrets involving not just himself, but a whole lineup of celebrities, politicians, and high-profile business moguls who've been linked to his now infamous parties. And if there's one thing powerful people don't like, it's being exposed. Some are speculating that certain individuals in Diddy's circle might be more interested in keeping him quiet than in defending his innocence. After all, if he starts talking, the fallout could be catastrophic, not just for him, but for everyone who's ever been connected to his so-called freak-offs. These parties, by the way, aren't just the stuff of tabloids anymore. They've become a central part of the narrative surrounding Diddy's case, described in court documents as elaborate and secretive gatherings. These events were allegedly the playgrounds of the rich and famous, taking place in mansions and luxury hotels. But as the night wore on and the guest list thinned, the vibe reportedly shifted into something much darker. Former attendees have claimed that these late-night gatherings weren't just about having a good time. They were tightly controlled environments where certain activities were encouraged, orchestrated, and, in some cases, documented. And now, as more details emerge, the question isn't just what happened at these parties, but who was there to witness it.
If they did in fact occur, their argument is more than likely going to be that this activity was consensual, that this person was a willing participant, and not only that, but that these individuals assumed the risk of being present at those parties, of engaging and voluntarily engaging in the sexual conduct and being in those spaces, consuming and things of that nature.
But here's the catch. These gatherings weren't just about indulgence. They were reportedly designed to draw people in and keep them loyal. Sources familiar with the accusations have claimed that Diddy's events were as much about power as they were about pleasure. Guests weren't simply attending. They were allegedly being watched, with every interaction meticulously recorded. Some insiders have suggested that Diddy used these recordings as leverage, ensuring that anyone who crossed him or failed to toe the line would face consequences. He was always 5 steps ahead, a former associate reportedly said. If you thought you were going to play him, you'd realize too late that he had already set you up. This has led to speculation that many of the powerful figures who frequented Diddy's parties aren't just worried about their reputations. They're terrified of what might surface if those recordings are handed over to authorities.
You know, it's still pretty early in the proceedings. I think it's only been about a month or a month and a half since he's been arraigned and held in detention. And so the investigations are always going to be a continuous and ongoing process. I'm sure at this point there's been an exchange of discovery. And not only that, but I think there's been a gag order placed on the attorneys with information that they can and cannot share.
Adding to the intrigue, there's been talk of a secret list, an alleged record of high-profile attendees who were present at these events. While no such list has been confirmed by law enforcement, rumors of its existence have taken on a life of their own. Social media has been ablaze with speculation, with users dissecting old photos, videos, and even interviews for clues about who might have been in the room during some of the most controversial moments. The idea that a list could exist has only heightened the stakes, fueling fears that Diddy's downfall could trigger a domino effect, taking down others in his orbit. For now, the alleged list remains a mystery, but its mere possibility has many watching this case with bated breath. And then there's the question of why so many people stayed silent for so long. Some have speculated that Diddy's influence in the entertainment industry was so vast that speaking out against him was seen as career suicide. He wasn't just a mogul, he was a gatekeeper. One industry insider claimed if you wanted to be anyone in music, fashion, or media, you had to stay on his good side. Others believe that fear played an even bigger role, with whispers of threats and intimidation tactics used to keep potential whistleblowers in line. The combination of power, fear, and access made Diddy untouchable for years. Until now, with the floodgates open and victims coming forward, it's clear that the narrative is shifting. The question now is how far it will go and who will be caught in the crossfire.
Is everybody familiar with the old Houdini So what Diddy's lawyers are trying to do is pull a Houdini. They're trying to say that the evidence that they have is different. Well, it's not different. The video that the entire world has seen is not going to go away. The fact that he had parties that were freak-offs is not going away. So it's just a question of whether or not Diddy is able to make bond.
A list, celebrities, music legends, and even business tycoons have all been linked to these gatherings. Names like Jay-Z, Beyonce, Jennifer Lopez, Ashton Kutcher, and Leonardo DiCaprio have come up repeatedly in the media. And while it's important to note that no one is accusing these individuals of any wrongdoing, their mere association with Diddy has raised eyebrows. In today's cancel culture, even the hint of being connected to a scandal of this magnitude can tarnish a reputation. Attorney Tony Busby, who's representing over 100 alleged victims, has made one thing clear: silence won't save anyone. He's already sent out demand letters to several high-profile figures, urging them to settle out of court or face lawsuits. And here's the kicker. Busby has gone on record saying that even those who didn't directly participate in anything inappropriate could still be held accountable for what they saw and didn't stop. If you were there, he said, and you knew somebody was being mistreated and you didn't do anything, you're just as liable. This has sent shockwaves through Hollywood. According to reports, some celebrities are scrambling to scrub their social media accounts, deleting photos and posts that could tie them to Diddy's parties. Others, including notable figures like Ice Cube and Damon Dash, have been quick to distance themselves, publicly denying any involvement. "I ain't never been to a Diddy party," Cube said during a recent concert, making it clear he didn't want his name dragged into the chaos. Damon Dash, meanwhile, admitted he attended one of Diddy's famous Hamptons parties years ago, but insisted nothing inappropriate happened while he was there. Nothing went down, he said, brushing off the rumors. But not everyone has been as eager to speak out. Some of the biggest names linked to Diddy have remained tight-lipped, fueling speculation about what they might be hiding.
And then if he does, this new, quote, robust bail package, you can avoid and evade. And he is very connected with people that can help him avoid and evade. I'm not saying he will, but I would be surprised if the court grants him a bond. When the federal government wants you detained, you are normally detained. And here it was a very far-reaching situation that he was involved in.
And then there's the fear factor. Diddy, for all his faults, is no fool. He knows the stakes, and he reportedly believes that his life could be in danger if he starts naming names. Sources close to the case have suggested that Diddy is under immense pressure, not just from prosecutors, but from those who want to ensure he doesn't spill the beans. After all, if Diddy were to cooperate with the authorities and offer information about others involved, it could lead to a domino effect, toppling careers and reputations in every corner of the entertainment industry. This has led to whispers about Diddy's alleged attempts to strike a deal with prosecutors, a plea bargain that could reduce his sentence in exchange for information. But so far, there's no confirmation that such a deal is on the table, and Diddy's legal team has denied any plans to cooperate.
In the meantime, let's go back to New York City. Want to get some updates on the case that is unfolding there regarding Sean Diddy.
Meanwhile, behind bars, Diddy's behavior has only added fuel to the fire. Reports of him using other inmates' phone cards to make unauthorized calls have raised suspicions about what he's planning. Some believe these calls could be an attempt to reach out to allies or even potential whistleblowers, urging them to stay loyal. Others think he might be trying to secure protection, fearing retaliation from those who stand to lose the most if he talks. And let's not forget the infamous notes that were seized from his jail cell. While Diddy's lawyers have argued that these notes were taken illegally, prosecutors have claimed they contain evidence of attempts to gather dirt on his accusers. If true, this could point to a larger effort by Diddy to control the narrative, even from behind bars. The drama doesn't stop there. One of the most shocking aspects of this case is the sheer scale of the allegations against Diddy. From accusations of witness intimidation to claims of orchestrating elaborate cover-ups, the charges paint a picture of someone who is willing to go to extreme lengths to protect his empire. And as more alleged victims come forward, the list of accusations continues to grow. Some have described being flown to exclusive parties under false pretenses, only to find themselves in situations they couldn't escape. Others have alleged that they were coerced into signing non-disclosure agreements, silencing them for years. These stories have only added to the perception that Diddy's world was one of control, manipulation, and secrecy.
That's it. If it is privilege, of course they won't. But if it really is what the prosecution says that has nothing to do with the case, or even worse, it's actually evidence of witness tampering, because we all know the attorney-client privilege, there's a crime fraud exception. You can't use your lawyer to perpetuate a future or continuing fraud or crime. So if the documents are what the government says they are, they're going to get them again. And again, it's just going to be a matter of days, because I don't expect.
But let's not forget the ripple effect this case is having on the entertainment industry as a whole. For years, years, Diddy was seen as a gatekeeper, someone who could make or break careers with a single phone call. His influence extended far beyond music, touching fashion, television, and even politics. Now, with his empire on the verge of collapse, those who once benefited from their association with him are finding themselves under scrutiny. And the timing couldn't be worse. In an era where public figures are being held accountable like never before, the fallout from Diddy's case could set a new precedent for how the entertainment industry handles allegations of misconduct.
So there's a few things going on. First is the privilege issue. The judge will decide whether the documents are privileged or not. If they're not, they're going to go to the government. If the documents are not only not privileged, but they're evidence of witness tampering, then a few things can happen, all of which are bad for Sean Diddy Combs. First, of course, he could face obstruction of justice charges in a superseding indictment. Now, I'm not saying that's necessarily...
So where does this leave us? On one hand, Diddy's legal team is fighting tooth and nail to secure his release and clear his name. On the other, the prosecution is building a case that could potentially expose decades of wrongdoing, not just by Diddy, but by an entire network of enablers. And as the trial date approaches, the stakes couldn't be higher. Will Diddy take the stand and defend himself? Will more celebrities be dragged into the spotlight? And perhaps most importantly, will justice be served? Or will this case become yet another example of power and money overshadowing accountability? One thing's for sure, this story is far from over. The courtroom battles, the behind-the-scenes negotiations, the media frenzy, it's all building toward a climax that could change the landscape of celebrity culture forever. And as more details emerge, the world will be watching to see how it all unfolds. Stay tuned, because if there's one thing we've learned from this saga, it's that the truth has a way of coming out, no matter how deeply it's buried.
He doesn't kind of buy what the prosecution's selling. He thinks they've looked at the notes.
Yeah.
He thinks that they're cheating.
I mean, I would think that too.
But apparently, what happened is commonplace.
Mm-hmm.
So, do you think Diddy's wealth and influence will ultimately help him secure bail, or will the severity of the allegations against him keep him behind bars? And what about the rumors of his associates turning against him? Could there be any truth to these conspiracy theories? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and let's keep the conversation going. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more celebrity news and updates. See you in the next video.